The call came on a Tuesday, just as I was getting ready for work. It was my mother, her voice thin and reedy, like a broken instrument. She rarely called that early. "He did it, Mark," she whispered, not even bothering with a greeting. "He cleaned it all out." My stomach dropped. I didn't need to ask who he was. It could only be my older brother, David. And it could only be the last of her savings, the small nest egg she'd worked her entire life to build. My mother's voice still haunts me, even now. That morning, she sounded utterly defeated, stripped bare. She recounted how she'd gone to the bank to pay a bill, only to be told her account was nearly empty. Not just low, but an impossible, gut-wrenching zero balance where tens of thousands of dollars should have been. The bank manager, seeing her distress, had pulled up the transaction history. It showed a series of large withdrawals, all made over the past 6 months, all signed off with her supposed authorization. But it wasn't her signature. She insisted, her voice rising with each denial, that she had signed nothing, approved nothing. She mentioned David's name, hesitantly at first, then with a growing certainty as the details unfurled. He'd been staying with her off and on for the past year, after losing yet another job. He'd had access to her checkbook, her mail, her every vulnerable moment. I remember the silence on my end of the phone, a cold, spreading dread. David had always been a drifter, always in some kind of financial trouble, always borrowing from Mom. But this was different. This wasn't a loan. This was a robbery. I told her I'd be right over, my own voice surprisingly steady, even as my hands trembled. I knew, with a sickening certainty, that our family was about to shatter. When I arrived at Mom's small house, the air was thick with unspoken grief. She sat at her kitchen table, a crumpled bank statement spread before her like a death certificate. Her face was pale, her eyes red-rimmed. I sat beside her, my arm around her shaking shoulders, and looked at the numbers. The total was staggering, far more than I'd imagined. Over $60,000. Her entire retirement fund, gone. I felt a surge of cold fury, a knot tightening in my chest. David wasn't there. He'd left, as he always did when things got difficult, leaving Mom to pick up the pieces. We called him, of course. My mother, with a strength I didn't know she possessed, confronted him directly over the phone. I listened, my jaw clenched, as his voice, usually smooth and deflective, stumbled. He denied it at first, then tried to pivot, claiming it was loans she'd forgotten about, or investments he'd made on her behalf that had gone south. Each excuse was a fresh insult. When she pressed him, demanding to know where the money was, he became defensive, then angry. "Why are you ganging up on me?" he'd shouted. "You always take Mark's side." He hung up, leaving us in stunned silence. The sheer audacity, the complete lack of remorse, solidified my resolve. This wasn't just about money, it was about trust, about betrayal, about the fundamental decency of one human being to another, especially within family. The next few weeks were a blur of paperwork and agonizing conversations. I took Mom to the bank, where we spoke with the branch manager and a fraud investigator. They confirmed what we already suspected, the signatures on the withdrawal slips were crude forgeries, but convincing enough to have passed initial scrutiny. They advised us to file a police report, emphasizing the gravity of the situation. My mother, however, hesitated. "He's still my son, Mark," she pleaded, her voice barely audible. "I don't want to see him in jail." My heart ached for her. She was caught between protecting her child and seeking justice for a devastating wrong. I tried to explain that this wasn't just about punishing David, it was about recovering her money, her future. The bank couldn't act without a police report. It became clear that David had systematically drained her account. We found evidence of him selling her antique jewelry, 2 pieces she'd inherited from her own mother, saying they were broken and needed repair. The proceeds, like the cash from her bank account, had vanished into thin air. We tracked some of his spending, lavish meals, new electronics, even a short, unexplained trip out of state. It was a lifestyle far beyond his means, funded by her sacrifice. Each discovery felt like a fresh stab, confirming the calculated nature of his actions. He hadn't just stumbled, he had planned this. Word of David's actions spread through our extended family like wildfire, fueled by my mother's tearful confessions to her sisters and my own frustrated calls to our cousins. The responses were a mix of shock, disbelief, and predictable division. Some, like our Aunt Carol, were absolutely furious. "He needs to pay for this, Mark," she declared, her voice sharp with indignation. "Your mother worked too hard." Others, particularly a few older relatives who had always coddled David, tried to downplay it. "Boys will be boys," my great-uncle Fred muttered, shaking his head. "Maybe he was just confused." This kind of dismissive attitude only fueled my anger. This wasn't a schoolyard prank, it was a felony. My mother's sisters, while supportive, were also hesitant to push her towards legal action. "It's a difficult thing to do to your own son," one of them sighed, reflecting the deeply ingrained family loyalty that was now a prison for my mother. I felt increasingly isolated, standing between my mother's emotional pain and the practical necessity of recovering her money. I knew that filing a police report would not only expose David to criminal charges but would also irrevocably shatter any illusion of family unity we might have left. The choice felt impossible, a no-win scenario. But every day that passed was another day my mother lived without the security she deserved. I finally decided to seek legal counsel on my own, without Mom's immediate involvement. I found a lawyer specializing in elder financial abuse. He listened patiently as I recounted the entire sordid tale, from David's history of financial instability to the forged signatures and the missing jewelry. The lawyer was direct and unflinching. He explained the legal avenues available, emphasizing that without a police report, our options were severely limited. A civil suit was possible, but often difficult to collect on if the perpetrator had no assets. Criminal charges, however, put the onus on the state to prosecute and offered a clearer path to restitution. He laid out the potential consequences for David: arrest, charges, trial, and likely jail time given the amount stolen. He also warned me about the emotional toll this would take on my mother, and on me. "You're essentially putting your brother in front of a firing squad," he said, not unkindly. "Are you prepared for that? Is your mother?" The questions hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. I thought of David, the older brother who once taught me to ride a bike, who used to protect me from bullies. The man who had now systematically destroyed our mother's security. Could I really be the one to send him to prison? The answer, I realized, was not about me, but about what was right for my mother. She deserved justice. She deserved her money back. Armed with the lawyer's advice, I sat down with my mother again. This time, I didn't sugarcoat anything. I laid out the facts, the legal possibilities, and the grim reality of her situation. "Mom," I said, taking her hands in mine, "if we don't do something, David will get away with this. And you will lose everything." I explained that without a police report, the bank wouldn't help, and neither would any other legal recourse. Her eyes welled up with tears, her face etched with agony. "But jail, Mark. My own son," she repeated, the words a raw wound. "He's a good boy underneath it all." It broke my heart to hear her clinging to that old fantasy. I knew David. He wasn't a good boy who'd made a mistake. He was an adult who had made a series of deliberate, malicious choices. I told her that she had to choose: protect David and lose her future, or protect herself and face the painful consequences of his actions. I gave her time, saying I would support whatever decision she made, but I also made it clear where I stood. I couldn't watch her be ruined, financially and emotionally, by his selfishness. The silence that followed was deafening, filled only with the faint ticking of the old clock on her mantelpiece. It was the hardest conversation of my life, tearing at the very fabric of our family. After several sleepless nights, my mother finally made her decision. With a deep, shuddering breath, she told me, "Do what you have to do, Mark. I can't live like this anymore." Her voice was quiet, but firm. It was the sound of a woman who had reached her breaking point. The next day, we went to the local police station. Filing the report felt surreal, like we were discussing a stranger's tragedy, not our own family's. The officer listened patiently, his face grim as he took down the details of the stolen funds, the forged signatures, the missing jewelry. He assured us they would open an investigation immediately. As we left the station, a strange mix of relief and profound sadness washed over me. Relief that we were finally taking action, but sadness for the irrevocable damage this would inflict. My mother was silent in the car, staring out the window, her gaze distant. I knew she was grieving, not just the money, but the son she thought she knew, the family she thought she had. The process had begun, and there was no turning back. The police informed David of the investigation a few days later. He reacted with furious texts and voicemails, accusing me of manipulating Mom, of tearing the family apart, of ruining his life. I blocked his number. There was nothing left to say. The investigation moved surprisingly quickly. The evidence was overwhelming: bank records, witness statements, the clear forgeries. About a month after we filed the report, David was arrested. I found out through my Aunt Carol, who had heard it from a neighbor. He was picked up at a motel several towns over, where he'd been living under the radar. The news hit me like a physical blow. Despite everything, despite the anger and betrayal, hearing that he was actually in custody, facing criminal charges, was profoundly unsettling. It was the concrete realization of the path we had chosen. My mother, when I told her, simply nodded, her face devoid of emotion. I think she had already processed the possibility, steeling herself for the inevitable. Her grief had gone beyond tears, it had settled into a quiet, resigned acceptance. David was charged with grand theft and elder abuse. The charges were serious, and the potential prison sentence significant. Our family was now firmly divided. Some relatives condemned us for sending David to jail, while others praised our courage. The phone calls, the whispered rumors, the awkward silences at family gatherings, it all underscored the fact that our family, as we knew it, was irrevocably broken. There would be no easy mending, no quick forgiveness. The court process was long and arduous. David pleaded not guilty, forcing us through a painful trial. My mother had to testify, recounting the betrayal in open court, her voice trembling but clear. I also testified, detailing the financial evidence and David's history of deception. David's defense tried to paint him as a victim, misunderstood and struggling, but the facts were undeniable. The forged signatures, the systematic draining of the account, the lack of any legitimate explanation for the missing funds, it all pointed to a deliberate act of theft. The emotional toll on my mother was immense. Each day in court was a fresh reopening of the wound. But she persevered, driven by a quiet determination to see justice done. In the end, the jury found David guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to several years in prison. The court also ordered him to pay full restitution to my mother. While the financial aspect was a victory, the emotional cost was immeasurable. My mother had her money back, or at least the promise of it, but she had lost her son. And I had lost my brother. The court's decision brought a hollow sense of relief, a grim satisfaction that the truth had prevailed, but it couldn't erase the years of pain or rebuild the trust that had been shattered beyond repair. David is currently serving his sentence. My mother, with the restitution money, has slowly begun to rebuild her sense of security. It's not about the money for her anymore, not really. It's about the principle, about knowing that what was stolen was, in a way, restored. She's moved to a smaller, more manageable apartment, a place that feels less haunted by the past. We don't talk about David much. Sometimes, she'll sigh and say, "I miss my son," and I know she's talking about the son she thought she had, not the man who betrayed her. Our relationship, hers and mine, has deepened in an unexpected way. We faced something truly terrible together, and we came out on the other side, battered but not broken. I see her strength now, a quiet resilience that I never fully appreciated before. The family remains fractured. Some still blame me, some still refuse to acknowledge the truth. But for those who stand by us, our bonds are stronger. We learned a devastating lesson about trust, about the darkness that can lurk even within those closest to us. It's a wound that will never fully heal, a scar that will always serve as a reminder. But we are moving forward, one day at a time, picking up the pieces and finding a new kind of peace. This story, like so many others, reminds us that the deepest betrayals often come from the people we trust the most. My mother found a way to reclaim her dignity and her financial security, but the cost was immense, tearing apart the very fabric of our family. It's a testament to her quiet strength, and a stark reminder that sometimes, justice demands an impossible choice. If this story resonated with you, and you appreciate raw, honest accounts of human experience, please consider subscribing to Dark Truths. Your support helps us continue to share these important, often difficult, stories. Thank you for listening.